Yeah. So today, I think it was a suggestion from one of the members in the group that can we just focus on, since it was Guru Purnima yesterday, can we just focus on the couplets on Guru that Kabir has shared. So today we will be just mostly, if something else comes up, we can take that also. Mostly we'll be focusing on the dohas or couplets on Guru, Mahima of Guru. Yeah. So I'll just share the screen and one by one we'll take a pause and reflect and share our reflections. Yeah, I hope it's clear. I hope you can see the screen. So I'll just read it out loud. We'll take a pause and one by one we can share our reflections then. यह तन विष की बेल री गुरु अमृत की खान शीस दिए जो गुरु मिले तो भी सस्ता जान. So in Geeta ji, I will translate in English as much as possible. So he says here that this body, yeh tan, vish ki belri, vishe. So since we are all having these sense perceptions, senses, we run towards the objects or the vishay of the sense perceptions. And that is also called poison. Yeh tan vish ki belri. So as if this body, if we identify too much with the body, it's almost like a poisonous creeper which is tied to us, just like a creeper is tied around a tree. And Guru Amrit ki Khan. And if you really get a good guru, a sacha guru, not only one, it can be many, many, then it takes us to immortality, Amrit. Amrit, that which cannot die, that which cannot be mortal. So if we really have a connection with a sacha guru or a true guru, he takes us closer to our true essence, which is immortality. Sees diye jo guru mile, to bhi sasta jaan. And even if you have to give your head away to have a true guru, even then it is a very cheap bargain. Yeah. So that is the English translation. We'll just take a pause and share reflections, whatever comes to us in a few moments. Yeah, Unniji, did you hear the English translation or would you be able to understand the...
I think I'll manage. If there's a doubt, I'll come back to you.
Okay, okay. Yeah, anyone, whenever we feel ready, we can just unmute and share our reflections, whatever is resonating with you through these 2-3 lines. Just go ahead and share. Yes, Veena ji, you want to share? Yes, please.
I just want to say it is not easy to find a good guru, but if one really seeks, then one can find. And once we find it's like we don't change your doctor, lawyer, and so on. You should not desert your guru. And like he said, we have all these negative thoughts which are nothing but poison. And when we have a guru that can help us come out of that and live a positive life, it is worth it. It's worth it. It's worth a lot. So, like he said, even if you have to give you a cut off your head for it, basically you don't really cut off your head, but what you do is you sacrifice a lot, or you give up other things which you are addicted to, or what shall we say, find more pleasurable. So then if you give up those things, then you get the benefit of having a wonderful guru. But it's not easy to get a wonderful guru. You may have some till then, okay, but once you find a good one, never give up. That's what I could say.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think the thing that you shared, it reminds me of another couplet by Kabir where he says, साचे गुरु के पक्ष में मन को दे ठहराए, चंचल से निश्चल भया, नहीं आवे नहीं जाए. So this is what you were sharing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Beautiful.
Even I was thinking of that. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so
Guru
much for
is
sharing.
finding shall I say, a huge diamond, but bigger than Kohinoor. I hope everybody finds one. Kabir himself would be good. We just have to keep reading what he says and understanding and
Absolutely. Absolutely.
he's a guru in the true sense, because he's not attached to money or anything. He was doing some beautiful work like weaving, and that's a very creative thing. And to be creative is being close to God. So listening to Kabir itself is like having a guru in the house. So I'm glad this couplet came up today.
Thank you so much, Meenaji. Yeah, anyone wants to go next? Yes, Ashokji.
Yeah, I think this they have Kabirji has taken two extremes in this, brought two extremes in this Vish and Amrut. Since the means giving his own head, so but that is something means intensity of having a guru and having so bringing that intensity and the sis, I mean it is a surrender. It is a sis is the prime part of our body and the almost whole thing of our everything of our existence, that you have to surrender your everything, and that surrender is there is no comparison in this surrender. So by bringing these extremes, he has showed the importance of having a guru. That's what I feel.
Yeah. And the thing on surrender that you were sharing. So he says in the second line, he says that it's still a cheap bargain. It's actually still a cheap bargain.
Yes.
If you are giving your head away or putting your ego off, and you are able to have closer connection or a connect with any guru, true guru. So even that is a cheap bargain. Yeah, thank you. Please go ahead. Anyone who feels like sharing next, keep on unmuting and sharing.
Monica, sorry, since I came in late, I missed the translation. What is Bailri? Bailri. Okay,
So
what is the word?
Bailri is the creeper. It's like a poisonous creeper. He's referring to the body as a poisonous creeper that goes on around a tree. It also brings our attention to what is actually the guru doing for us, because in the second line he says that it's a very cheap bargain if you cut off your head or give away your head metaphorically, and then you are having the connection or proximity of a guru. So what do we get by being close to a guru? why is it called a cheap bargain? If we could share our reflections on that also.
See, the world is full of toxic. But poison is not literally poison, it's all these toxic things that today more than ever, there's all this physical pleasure that people want, food and whatever else. But it's all toxic. We can see that it's affecting our health and so on. But if we want to give up something and get proper guidance from a guru, then these toxic things we need to give up. It's also an ego. Head also is an ego. The head, giving up your head is nothing but giving up your ego. When we put our head high and walk, like that, like as if we have, that's the ego, no? So giving up your ego is also like giving up your head. But once you find a good guru, like a good guru, then the ego should die out by itself. But then we also have to take an active part and give up that ego. Then the priceless guidance or the priceless words of a guru can change your whole life. Even a couple of sentences can change your whole life. See, once I was stuck in when I was going through that cancer thing, that was in 2001 when the treatment was very crude compared to today. So when we got the diagnosis, everybody was a little upset, especially my daughter. And then my mother she just sat there quietly listening to the whole thing. And the mother is a guru itself. So she said quietly, what did the doctor say? What should you do next? Go and do that. So it means life and death is not in your hands. Cancer may not be a killer. You do what the doctor says. You just follow that. So that one sentence changed my whole perspective. And as a mother, she gave me such a guidance that, believe me, after that, I was not afraid of anything. Although I had a metastasis and my treatment went on for nearly 10 years. But I continued to work. I continued to be as normal as possible. And I was very fortunate because she came and sat with me in the hospital after the major surgery when they did the mastectomy. I don't know what good karma I did that my mother was able to come and sit with me. And one whole month she said, no, you stay with us. And because I couldn't move my arm and all that. No, so that is a blessing. And being a mother, she's our first teacher, our first guru. So that one sentence changed my whole perspective. And till today, I have this thing that no matter what comes, many health issues as we age, but what did the doctor say? You do what the doctor says, you do your part, and leave the rest to the Almighty. If God wishes you to be here, well, God has wished me here, and I'm still here, and thank God for that. Every day I try to make it useful. Every day I look for something positive and do something which I can to help somebody else. So anybody who's a cancer survivor, welcome. Please connect to me. It will be nice. So that is what we mean when we say a guru is like priceless. It was priceless. See, it gave me life, 20 years of life. Medicine was there, expenses were there, all that was there. But that one sentence gave me a lot of life. Now my mother's passed on, but still, it comes back to me each time. The way she sat there quietly, very sweetly, with one little smile, she said, you do what the doctor said. So that image I can't, it's permanently embedded in my mind. So of course, at that time, you have to give up your ego. You can't say, oh, I'm this and that. That brings you down to earth like nothing else. Some diagnosis like this. Today, COVID is doing the same thing. A diagnosis of COVID is scaring many people. But then with the confidence, we can face many things. With the confidence that God is with us, the divine is with us, we have a partner, no? So we can face many things. So today too, these kind of situations exist. And this toxicity is, see, it's not only toxicity in the food, it's toxicity in the way we think, the way we do, the way we act. And the material has taken over today more value is given to material possessions than to being a good human being, I should say. So being a good human being, nobody like Kabir. Kabir's dohes can guide you through so much, so much. So wonderful. That's what
beautiful,
I can.
beautiful. Yeah. Great. Yeah, anyone who wants to share next on this one? So if we go by the meaning of the word in Hindi, guru, I'm sure many of us are aware of it. They say that it is gu means andhyara, the darkness, and ru is the prakash or light. So anything, any word, not only a physical presence, but any word, any life situation, anything that takes us from darkness to light or shows us the light hiding in the darkness. As Veena ji was sharing that those two lines from her mother and just the presence of her mother was able to take her towards, a positive outlook towards life, or seeing that light in that darkness. I think that is where the reference also comes from the guru, the word guru. So in other couplets, Kabir also shares that ऐसा गुरु छोड़ते हुए देर ना करें जो आपको डार्कनेस से लाइट से नहीं ले जा रहा है. इफ जा गुरु से भ्रम ना मिटे, भ्रांति न मन की जाए, ऐसा गुरु त्यागत देर ना कीजिए. Something like that you have to be very aware of if the words, maybe if you are in a physical company of a mentor or a master, and if the words are not really taking you from darkness to light, and still you are investing too much, because many a times we do fall into these traps where we invest too much in a physical guru, and yet my doubts are really, my mind is full of doubts, my mind is not gaining clarity, there is no any silence and light in my being. So ऐसे समय we also have to be vigilant, that we also need to have the discernment or the vivek to know that where to go and where not to go. So there are many couplets Kabir shares on that also. Yeah. And also this line which is catching at least my attention, the second line, which where he says that it is a very cheap bargain. Now, why is it a cheap bargain for me? If I come through my own experiences, that a whole life is lived and we are not aware of who we truly are. A whole lifetime passes by and we think that it's okay to have such a lifetime. It's good to live 80, 90 years, the regular human age, even when I'm not aware of my true nature. And what a guru does for us is that he makes us aware, he gives us hints and clues of our true nature so that we can live it out rather than just talking about it, or thinking that I've got it. We can live our true nature out. And that is why it's a cheap bargain. Otherwise, a whole lifetime is gone. And masters have said that human birth is such a precious birth. And why is it precious if I just have to do what an animal does? An animal also eats, drinks, sleeps, reproduces. And if I am also doing the same and not waking up to my true nature, what is the purpose of me being here? So, a connection with the Guru, proximity with words full of enlightenment and illumination, I think they also wake us up to our true nature. And for that, even if it's towards the end of my life, I'm almost going to die, and I hear a word or something happens that I wake up to my true nature, even that is enough. Even that few moments with my true nature is enough. Yes, Chikiji.
This is one of, again, Kabir ji is saying, Guru Gobind dono khade, kaake lago paye, बलिहारी गुरु आपके गोविंद दिखाए दियो बताए. Can you hear me?
Yes, Chikiji. Yes. Please go ahead.
Yeah. This is Kabir ji saying that without the Guru, it's the Guru who shows me even God. So he literally wants to know whose feet do I touch. I have my Guru and Gobind both standing in front of me. And whose feet do I touch? And he says, I'll touch the Guru's feet. Because
Chikiji, can you be a little louder? Your voice is not very clear.
Kabirji says that the Guru and Gobindji are both standing in front of me, right? whose feet do I touch? And he goes on to saying, it's the Guru who shows me, has told me about God, Govind. So it's only through the Guru that I will get anywhere. You know, this attempt to, I think it's fantastic for people who can do it, to be able to try and reach God on your own. But as the Hindu tradition says, you need a Guru for that. It can't be without a Guru. And finding a Guru, I don't think it depends on us to be able to find a Guru. When we are ready, the Guru appears. And if we're not, we can spend the rest of our lives looking for a Guru and we'll never find one. Or we'll find all the wrong ones, It's again the grace of God or the Guru that the Guru will appear. It doesn't happen of our volition.
So Chikiji, when you share, when we are ready, the Guru appears.
Yeah.
Would you like to share something on what is this readiness?
That again is dependent on, because we can't judge, we judge ourselves or we judge others mostly, we don't judge ourselves. But it's the readiness only the Guru will be able to know. It's not for us to know. Ours is just the effort or the earnestness to find. And really the word is earnest. We've got to be really earnest in our desire to find God. And find God, like you said it a little earlier, is also finding the self. Finding God or finding the self is the same thing, the interchangeable words. So the earnestness to actually want to be out of what we are in. Looking at, when in the Gita they say, you see what is inside you. So this toxicity outside it we keep pointing at doesn't work. I mean, our job really is only, I believe, to take care of our own souls and to refine that. Because the Gita says the world is a myth. Nisargadatta says it's just an illusion. A lot of our masters say that. So it's just that earnestness to want to be out of it, to be so fed up of, being in this, that you don't want anything else. And it's a journey of refinement, That's the way I see it.
Yeah, thank you, Chikiji. Yeah. There is something I want to share here, but maybe later what Chikiji was sharing. Please, anyone who feels like sharing on these, either of these couplets, please go ahead. Okay, so if no one is sharing, I'll just go ahead what I had in mind. So Chikiji, I'm absolutely with you. The thing that you were sharing, that just a second. Yeah. Yes, Geeta ji. Yes. Yeah. So this story also came up. I think Sulakshana ji also was mentioning this story that Lord Dattatreya was asked about who is your guru, and he says that a little beetle is also my guru, a snake is also my guru, and he just then counted 24 gurus. That from every one I learned something. Just like I'm sure we would agree to that no matter if it's an infant, maybe a tree standing, a mountain, if we are in true communion with any of the things in nature, yeah, or even in material manifestation, we have this capacity, if we are receptive, that anything, any person, any situation can become our guru, can awaken something in our being, yeah, or as if it tears a veil of ignorance in our being. Absolutely. Yeah. Requires just for us to be receptive, what Chikiji was sharing, to be ready or to be receptive to take. Yeah, Chikiji, you wanted to share something?
No, you said it. So it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, so what I wanted to share was that, it's very interesting how the more we go into this world of spirituality, the more we see that as if there is no end to what we can get to know about ourselves. So when we say self-realization, it's not an end, like it's not a finite thing. There are realizations after realization. Since divine is infinite, God is infinite, and since I am God itself, in a bigger reality, not in my little form, but in a bigger reality, I am the ansh of God. I am also infinite. So my true self is also infinite, just like the divine is infinite. So I can, it actually, Mother and Sri Aurobindo point out that it actually is that as if revelation after revelations, light after lights, veils after veils are shed off in this process of journey towards realization of the self. And there is no end to this vastness. That is the beauty, and we can never say, I have arrived. I think that keeps us grounded because there is no finite point to arrive. So that keeps us all on the path, and just being on the path is so beautiful if one is able to just be on the path. Revelations after revelations, veils of ignorance shed again. You think that you've got it, and after a year or maybe a day you realize, oh my god, I was under another illusion. And illusions have such a way that such a way of masking, that it's really amazing that how we can be in a trap of I know. At any stage of my life I can be in this trap, and immediately a fall will come, a blow will come, in life, and I will realize that there was something more that I needed to know or understand. So I wanted to actually share on this what Chikkiji was sharing, that the world is an illusion. Now people have said that, many masters earlier have said that what you do is you realize who you truly are, and rest everything is an illusion. Now Mother and Sri Aurobindo, why I am pointing it, that what is the purpose of this creation? What is the purpose? So we cannot just realize our true being and leave the drain, saying that the drain is an illusion. Mother and Sri Aurobindo say that nirvana or self-realization is the first step of integral yoga. So first you have to realize who you truly are, that you're not this body, not this mind, not the feelings. Yeah, something beyond that, something more than that. And then with that mastery over self, you regain your mind, your emotions, and your physical being. So with that light that you have touched within, with the help of the guru and grace, now you make your mind also refiner and purer, the emotions also purer and purer, and the physical being also slowly takes the turn towards the divine. Yeah, and now a new life begins, where the life is lived as a servant of the true self or the divine, rather than being a servant of the ego which we were living earlier. And even now ego will crop up again and again. We just have to be vigilant. So I feel that there is more to this truth when we say that the world is an illusion, because there is more to it. Again, won't be able to go much in detail, but I think there is more to it. I cannot just kind of brush it aside saying that it is an illusion. Yeah? There needs to be more refinement in my thoughts, refinement in my feelings, actions, words, speech, so that it reflects the divine light that I truly am. Yeah, that is what was coming to me when Chikiji was sharing. And this thing that you were sharing, that uh, although people say, and there is theory that I am that divine, or I am the part of the divine, there is divine within me. Everybody has said that, but I don't feel it. I don't know it. I can't use it. So what grace of the guru does is that he tears those veils which are covering my true nature, so that I can live that grace or light out. Because if I'm sitting on a treasure, it's as good as not having the treasure. Yeah. So I am being a beggar all my life. And in theory, I am saying, I am the divine, I am the divine. The divine lives in me. It's no point, because I'm still the beggar. And what Guru does is, through his words, through his presence, through his beings, or, whatever happens in the grace of the Guru, that he makes us aware of that treasure that we are seeking outside. Happiness, lasting happiness, lasting contentment, yahan milega, wahan milega, but we never find it anywhere. And the Guru points that, hey, it's you, it's your true nature, that lasting contentment and peace. So stop being a beggar all the time. So such is the grace or the beauty of Guru. And hence Guru comes first, and in one of the couplets Kabir also says that Ram Bulawa bhejiya, as if somebody has come to take me to the heaven, but I don't want to go to the heaven, because there is so much sukh in co-traveling, on this path. There is so much sukh on the path of surrender that I don't want the heavens anymore. So again, the beauty that if I have the treasure and I am not waking up to the treasure, it's no point. And hence Guru's grace comes first, because it makes me available to the treasure that I was sitting on. So I think I've said just too much. Please, anyone who feels like sharing, please go ahead.
Can I say something? I mean, we are the only creature that has why, what, where, when, who, question. You notice any other creature does that? No, they just accept what it is. They are already in a divine state. Of course, when they feel threat to the physical life, everybody will, wake up and protect themselves. But I find that all of nature, whether it's plants or animals or anybody, we are the only creature who has these doubts and no questions. We have all these question. So we go looking for a guru. But if you just simply accept, even the workers on the construction site have so much wisdom. The farmers have so much wisdom. We can learn. They can be our guru. I've learned a lot by interacting with such people also. They don't have to be, a guru with a beard and all that stuff. You can learn from anybody, like you said. And if effectively, the whole story is not about possessions and not about the intellect. No, don't confuse the intellect with the being. The being is something completely different from the intellect. The intellect is what questions, doubts, and so on. But once you accept so many things, then you are rid of all these doubts and questions and conflicts and so on. The conflict is also a kind of toxin, no? So once you are out of the conflict, then you simply accept, and you find whatever divine can be there in every moment, every second, and then it's truly wonderful. You don't have to, sometimes when people accuse you of something, you don't have to immediately answer and justify and so on. We just be there and they'll realize it themselves. So many things can be learned just by observing nature itself, Listen to the dog. I even the pets at home will tell you something. It's if you're open to learning, then everything is a guru. If you're open to learning about life, I'm not talking about science and facts and fiction and all that stuff, but if you're open to learning about what, as we say, what life really is about, then every moment, every interaction, every encounter, every meeting with anything can be a learning. You learn this is so, or you learn this is not so. You learn this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. And then you just have to filter it out and discard whatever doesn't really take you forward. So it's not that, it's not like somebody has to be the appearance of a guru. It's not that. It's anybody can be a guru. Anybody, anything, any instance, any occurrence. All of nature is teaching you something all the time if you're open to learning. So, well, guru is a big thing. It's not a small thing. The whole universe is your guru, not just a person, not one single person. The whole universe is your guru, and it takes you, like you said, the darkness of ignorance into the light of awareness. So, to me, that is guru. And there's not a day that passes when there's so much to learn just by being quiet and observing so many things, So that is what to me is infinite. It's never ending.
Never ending, absolutely. I think we can never be unemployed here. We always have something to do.
I brought out that word of never ending. Learning never ends and never ending.
Yeah.
Realization never ends. Like an onion, the more you peel,
Yeah.
the sweetest part is inside. The outside part may not be, but I mean, it's an odd kind of comparison, but the sweetest part of the onion is inside. So like an onion, you keep peeling, then you come to the sweetest part of the onion. So like that, life is like that. It depends on what you're open to, learning,
Yeah,
being aware of so many things.
this thing of openness that you are sharing, Veena ji, so again reminds me of one of the songs where are these two lines. He says, "ऐसा ऐसा किवाड़ तो हिवड़े पे जड़िया, guru bina tala kon khole." So as if throughout the process of our conditioning, childhood, bringing up, as if we
Yes.
have gotten too limited, locked up ourselves in shells of all kinds. And
Absolutely.
what the life situations or happenings or people around us or a guru does is that it breaks that those shells that we have made around our heart.
Yeah, exactly. Opens the doors to so much.
Yeah, and Rumi also says that it's through the wound that light enters your heart. So these
Yeah.
wounds, these blows, challenges, and falling down on our knees, I think this is also auspicious because that is what makes us porous and receptive to the grace. Yeah, beautiful. So I'll just share the next one, then we can reflect over it and share our reflections. कहे कबीर गुरु प्रेम बस, क्या नियरे क्या दूर, जाका चित जासो बसे, तो ही सोति ही sada hujur. So here he says that when we are in touch with the guru, if you are really in love with the guru or being able to learn or receptive, then it does not make any difference whether you are physically close to the presence of a guru or not. In your heart, if there is love for learning, there is love for the guru, then it does its work from within. Because many a times, many of us are also, that I don't have a physical guru. When will I have a physical guru? And that also troubles us at times, many a times. So I think here he says that if in your heart you have a longing or a yearning for the words of illumination and light, that love for learning, that love for progress is enough. That keeps you close to the divine. Yeah, so if there is anything on this, please go ahead.
Yeah, Monica, that's a very interesting line because it straight away takes you to Ekalavya in Mahabharata, where he doesn't have any physical contact with Dronacharya, but then he trains himself because of his commitment to become the greatest archer of the day. So much that the guru, what happened to him later is a different story, but the point is that how he is able to achieve that. And this, if you look back with this reference to the previous discussions on guru, what it really would tell us is that, at least what I think it is telling me is that actually guru is somebody who is there to guide. He'll show you the path. And it is for me to find that path and go down that path. And as you are all saying, your connectedness with the universe, with the people around you, with the things around you, with the entire universe around you, that once I am able to identify or realize, which is actually realizing the guru within rather than the guru without. Yes, one might need, or one would surely need an external help, someone who would show us the path. But the point is, what is that time when we can actually see that path ourselves or myself? And that is the realization of the guru within. That's why this Dattatreya story and everybody around can be a guru, things like that come because the guru is within. So therefore, this the couplet that you have just now displayed directly points to that thought. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I think this is also so interesting. Many couplets on this also, what Unniji has just shared. There is a talk, many couplets on Sat Guru, and at many times it appears that he's pointing at that the outer guru actually points you towards this guru within. So once the task is done, then you can move the path on your own, as if he has opened the gates for you. And then once you become receptive enough to this inner guidance, then anything and any person or any situation, as you were sharing, will be my guru, because I am now in a receptive mode. I'm ready to progress, ready to learn. So that is really beautiful. Yeah, anyone who wants to share, please. I was also wondering on, so I just keep on speaking if no one is speaking. Pardon me for that. And if you're ready, please unmute and share. So I was also thinking that many a times, you feel this kind of an obligation, that, oh, that is my guru and he has guided me so much. So although you are now ready to as if move on the path, you feel a kind of an obligation that I have to stick to that person since he has done so much for me. And I think I feel, again, I may be wrong, I feel that that is not necessary, because there may be so many physical presences around me who have guided me at different times of, points of time, and they have done their job. They were not seeking anything from me. They were just being who they truly were. And in their own presence, they gave me something which lighted up my path. And now when they've done their job and I'm ready to move on, I think there is also not needed this kind of a guilt or a sense of an obligation that now I need to stick to that fellow physically, or kind of I don't know, because I felt that there is a certain obligation at times that we may feel that मेरा जैसे कुछ मेरा एहसान बनता है, मुझे कुछ करना है, उसने मेरे ऊपर इतने एहसान किए हैं. So I feel that that is not needed, especially when people are really truly mentors, true masters, because they would not want you to stick around if you are ready to move on. You can walk your own path. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. It was just coming to me that this need for sticking around. If you're just ready, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Yes, Chikiji. Yeah.
sorry. A guru, firstly, isn't a person. Okay, what we look at as a person, a guru is not a person, because then either we can take the view of everyone's a guru, every situation's a guru, and we can learn from it, absolutely without a doubt. But if you're talking about a guru, if you feel obligated to stay, then that wasn't your guru. Then that's like a situation in life which you learn from and you move on. Because a guru is definitely not a person. There is no question of looking at a guru as a person, because either then you haven't found the right guru, if you're talking about guru being a person. Because guru, the very, see, when you started, you said the guru is, gu is darkness. Ru actually means the dispeller of dark, the remover of darkness. That's why you have the word guru, because that's who removes that darkness. We can look at life like we said earlier as a guru and everything in life. But when you're talking about a guru, it does not conform to the body. So it cannot be. It cannot be a person.
Yeah, why I shared that, Chikiji, because there are instances, because there are so many cults and fanaticisms that develop around, and I see that this can happen. That one
Darling,
feels.
those then are not gurus. No, those are just social. I don't know what term to use for them. These are creations of their own.
Yes, many a times this cult kind of a structure happens where you are bound to pay, darshan or whatever to
will
Yes.
never bind you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Never bind you.
Exactly.
Only the personal ego will bind you, but a guru will not bind you.
Absolutely.
But I'm
Absolutely.
saying a guru doesn't even have an ego. And that's the true mark of a guru.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. I think what you just shared, there is something here, for example, which we can take up what you were sharing.
But I think, Monica ji,
Yeah.
I think we as, humans, we create these gurus and, you know, uh, obviously the person who is selfless and is always ready to give, he would never want you to call him or her a guru, or, just follow me and do something. And but ऐसा कोई don't follow any rituals or something. But this is we, because we want something, we always want a sahara to just lean on, and the easy thing, हाँ जी मैंने आपको, for instance मैं आपको अपना गुरु मान लेती हूँ, so then I expect everything out of you, that even if I don't want to move, you keep pushing me. So that's what I don't want to do, I put it on you, so that as guru you keep helping me in doing that. So I think that's what we tend to do. And as Chiki ji said कि ऐसे गुरु फिर वो गुरु नहीं होते, they're something, they're just above everything, and they don't need any recognition, they don't need any names, or you don't need to follow them and उस तरह से. So
Absolutely.
this is all what we have created, and what we like. So we give somebody a kind of a situation, a position, or एक responsibility देते हैं कि अब आपकी responsibility हमें सीधे रास्ते पे चलाने के लिए, because we don't want to do it. We want somebody to just keep pulling us and taking to that path. And if that person fails, then that guru's gone forever.
Yeah.
Social
Beautiful.
stigma.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So as
I think-
I just forgot her name. I think Veena ji.
Veena ji.
हाँ.
Veena ji.
So as she said, so we can gain knowledge from anything, whether it's our pets, whether it's trees, the wind, anything. Anybody can give you any kind of knowledge, because I have 4 pets, so I know what they teach me so much. The first thing which they teach me is the energy, the kind of energy I give, they give back the same energy. So this is, I totally agree with her. So that's what I wanted to say. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. No, I think by a constant presence of either sadhu sangat, Kabir has shared a lot on sadhu sangat, or a sadhak on the path, a traveler on the path, keep them around you, or a constant reminder through the words of Guru. I feel why that is necessary, because this ego is a very tricky affair, and anything I can add on to my ego, anything, so one needs to be very vigilant, satark. Kabir also has talked about this need for vigilance. And when we are around such people, either a co-traveler, sadhak on the path, or a child of the divine who is truly on the path of truth, what we get help through is that he will also be able to point to us that, see, this is again coming a load on your head. You are again developing something. It's again becoming a part of your head. While if we are on our own, the ignorance is so ghanghor, it's such a dense ignorance that we tend to slip again and again. So the constant company of a sadhak or fellow travelers who are really on the path of truth, or a guru, I feel really helps in the way that it allows me to see my ego again and again, which I myself cannot see. I fail. It's such a tricky affair that I am myself not aware of this ego. So if I have a friend, for example, who I talk to and we discussed about these matters, then it's very easy from a friend coming that, hey, it is again becoming a part of your ego. And that would be a true friend, because he is able to point me, and then I am also receptive enough, the friend is also able to guide, that again it is sticking to my mind, again becoming a part of my sense of self. So I think the terrain is so tricky, this terrain, and the ego never dies. One never becomes egoless. Ego never dies. It's almost like an illusion, like just like an illusion never dies. One just always have to be on our toes. Kabir says that I have found rest on the top of the mountain, and on the top of the mountain, on this peak, I have noose hanging over my neck. Such is a slippery domain. The moment I slip, I'm gone. Again in the trap of the ego. And there he says that I have found rest at that level of vigilance. So yeah, I think it's truly a blessing actually to have people on the path who can actually again and again point you that you are slipping into the ego mode again, or whatever, in whatever way, and point you towards your own truth. Yeah. But it's very rare actually. We are so, usually the friends that we have, usually on a usual basis, they are not friends in a true sense that they would point us to our true essence and tell us about our egos. Neither are we ready for that. So it needs a lot of courage to have a friend who is again and again ready to blow you out, kick you when you fall into the domain of the ego. It needs a lot of courage.
And that person still remains your friend. That's
Still
more
remains your
important.
friend. Very hard. Yeah, it's very hard.
That is why in Reiki, when I learned long back, my teacher told me that, the one who would tell you straight to your face are like these people whom you don't consider, who are close to you, like your in-laws especially. So she says they are your teachers. So, more than your friend, listen to these people and reflect on those. They can teach you better than a friend.
Absolutely. I think that's why he would say, Nindak niyare rakhiye angan kuti chhawai. Keep your criticism, critical people around you, because they do more good than the people who massage your sense of self. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think those people don't have anything to lose. If I'm your friend, so I have that fear of losing you. If I say something against you, so you might feel bad, and you might start hiding things, and might stop sharing things, and we might stop going out or whatever, XYZ. But if I am not your friend, it doesn't mean that I have to be your enemy. But if I'm not your friend, so if I criticize you for anything, so I have nothing to lose if I say anything good or anything bad. Obviously, if I keep saying something good, obviously we tend, that's a very uh, quite possibility that we might become friends, because that wavelength matches, so hum friends. So otherwise, the people who don't flatter you, butter you, or who criticize you, or who talk something against you, I think they are more, uh, to be possessed with you. So that's a very,
Yeah.
and I love this group, because though I always don't talk much on the topics, but you tend to learn so many things. एक दोहे में से कितने सारे आपको उसके pages, you can just go on
Yeah.
understanding the एक एक शब्द के भी कितने सारे मतलब निकल आते हैं.
Bilkul.
So I really love, and I'm happy that I'm part of this group.
Yeah, we are happy
Thanks,
too.
thanks.
Yeah. I think that also tells what you were sharing, Chitraji, that also tells that on what basis our relationships are. Usually what we call as friendships, they're actually as if we are enemy of each other, because all we are doing is just massaging each other's ego mostly, keeping in our own comfort zones. And I think that's why Kabir talks so much on what is true love. He says that if you want to walk on the path of true love, you again have to cut off your head. We discussed it earlier in our sessions, that if I truly love a friend, would I actually be massaging the ego of the friend, or would I be pointing him towards truth? So it takes, love goes synonymously with courage, because then I am not even afraid that yes, the friend may even leave me, but I would always be pointing towards the truth. So it requires a lot of courage, this deep kind of love. Yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to share these two, where he says, Kabir Satguru na mila, rahi adhuri seek, swang yati ka pehenkar, ghar ghar mange bheek. So he says that we may think that we have found it, but what tells me that I have not found it is that I am still a beggar. In the first one, so it just tells me that there is still lot more to unburden, and the realization is not complete, because if I'm still a beggar, I'm still operating from the mode of ego, I have really not realized who I truly am, not even touched it actually. So he says, Kabir Satguru na mila, rahi adhuri seek. On the surface, picking up some intellectual concepts, I may feel that I know, but I'm still a beggar, because I still want to be somebody, I still want to have name, fame, otherwise I feel incomplete. So all that goes on within our being, that tells that my realization is still not complete, there is still something that I'm missing. And in the other one he says, तीरथ गए से एक फल, संत मिले फल चार, सतगुरु मिले अनेक फल, कहे कबीर विचार. So he says, when you go to pilgrimage, so-called rituals that we follow, pilgrimage, you may get a phal or two, you may reap a benefit or two. If you find a saint, you may find a few more benefits. If you truly found your eternal guru, now this Sat Guru, I believe this is a reference to the inner guru, Sat Guru, that which is the eternal guru, the source of it all. Satguru mile anek phal, countless number of benefits if you really get in touch with the eternal guidance within. Kahe Kabir vichar. So Kabir says, think about it. So let us think about it and take a pause and share. Yeah, Chikiji, you want to share?
Yeah, I was just thinking about it actually.
Yeah.
The internal guru is again, again, it's weird that I should be saying it's not weird for me, but to find a guru basically means to find someone who is egoless. If we're really talking about a Sadguru or an external guru, we're talking really about someone who is egoless and who will actually show you the path within. Okay, you will be able to respond in the same way as if the guru or the Sadguru was sitting inside of you, which is really flowing with and accepting what is really coming your way and trying to find your way through it. It's like flowing with life instead of resisting life. And it is rare, it is very, very rare to find a Sadguru in the physical form. Yeah. But there have been very, very powerful gurus. So, and and like you were saying, to find a friend is like an ultimate treasure. Sakhi on the way of this path is to find ultimate treasure. And, one would try and keep that person with you as much as is possible. But that again, I find is a very rare thing, like, we've all been saying. And one of the ways is like someone said earlier, just read Kabir. It's spending time with people like Kabir, which is satsang. And satsang does not mean that you find it does also mean that you find like-minded people. But satsang is also reading people like Kabir. So it's not always possible that you will find company who you will be able to have. I mean, like someone said earlier, again, we're very grateful that we have these kind of discussions and there's this forum that one can talk or discuss these spiritual matters. So it's not always possible to find a friend or company. And Satsangat is again books of the masters to be read and to be reread so that one goes deeper and deeper and deeper. Because not all of us are blessed with gurus, not all of us are blessed with friends. Just another way.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Vicky. I think I remember once I was talking to someone and he says that the baddest company one can have, kusangat, that is the company of our own mind. So anything that is not the company of your mind and which takes you towards the light, words full, as you were sharing, reading Kabir, contemplating on Kabir, reading words of other masters, contemplating on them, maybe something related to creativity, as Veena ji was sharing earlier. I think anything that keeps you away from the sangat of the loop of the vicious thoughts, but the poison that we were talking of. And slowly, the mind also gets attuned to this silent, state. So instead, earlier it was very attuned to the poisonous or toxic state. Now it does not want to be there. Slowly, the mind as if gets transformed. It does not want that much of noise inside. So I think that is again all of us. It's our journey that slowly we have a taste for the poison, all the vicious loop of thoughts. Slowly we train it in such way out of necessity or suffering that now we love to have the taste of this silence within the being, and whatever needs to be done gets done through inspirations or insights or whatever the guidance that we receive from within. Yeah. Also, one thing which I want to share here, again, just coming out of my own ruminations or reflections, that when I talk about Sat Sangat, which Chikiji was reflecting upon, now Sat, if you look at the word, is Sat is that which only is. Now, everything in life comes and goes. There is something which is beyond coming and going, which is my true essence, which we also in other names we call this ever-present presence of awareness. Now, Sat Sangat in other terms can also be this company of my eternal essence. So I'm very okay, very intimate being this awareness that I am. Because thinking comes and goes, feelings comes and goes, situations comes and goes, the awareness never comes and goes, it always is. So that again, one of the reflection that it could also refer to this intimate true essence of myself, which I always have the company of, but I am mostly unaware, lost in thoughts. Yeah, last night something very strange happened and I was reflecting upon it. So I was dreaming, and in my dream, I really felt that there is something sticking in my throat and I have to clear my throat, like I have to cough. Now, that was in the dream. And when I woke up, like suddenly, because it was so choking a feeling, that I woke up and I realized that there was actually something sticking in my throat which I had to clear. Now, I was just reflecting upon it. It was very interesting experience for me that the body was asleep, everything silent. Something in us was not asleep. Something in me was not asleep, which was aware of the need of coughing. Now, that's something, I don't want to name it, that's something made in the dream, because it is the master of the dream, it made possible that I get an indication in the dream that I have to cough. so that I, get up and cuff. So that was very interesting an experience, and I related this with Kabir ji's songs again, where he says, "मैं जागूं, मेरा सतगुरु जागे, आलम सारी सोवेरे." So there is something in us, that awareness in us, which never sleeps. Even in deep sleep, it never sleeps. It is just noticing and taking impressions of everything, untouched by everything, and that is forever awake in me. So he says, "मैं जागूं, मेरा सतगुरु जागे, आलम सारी सोवेरे." Yeah. And yeah, again connects with who I truly am. Can I just be more and more aware of it? Can I more consciously be aware of it? So let us take maybe one more and then we can call it a day. This one, I think this is also very nice. Guru Kumhar, शिष्य कुंभ है, गड़ी गड़ी काड़े खोट, अंतर हाथ सहार दे, बाहर बाहे चोट. So he almost used this analogy of when the potter is making a earthen pot, and what he does is that he hammers from the outside. He hammers from the outside. Inside of the vessel, he's putting his hand as support. So he says Guru is like this, and the disciple or the student who is ready to learn, he is like the earthen vessel, the clay pot. And how he molds the vessel is that he puts his hand inside. He gives a bit of a support. It's not that he's just kicking and not giving any support. He gives support, and from the outside he hammers, he molds, and a nice shape comes out. Because when our ego gets hit, it is kind of a blow or chot. It's like shattering of all the shells that we have enclosed ourselves in. And yet there is also a support, a loving presence, a loving guidance, loving presence, that you are not alone. I'm with you. So although a breaking is happening, a molding or a chiseling is happening, but the grace is with you. So if we want to reflect upon this.
Monica, like you shared earlier, the things that we don't like that happen to us, illnesses, everything that we don't like, that we don't want happening to us, we never look at that as grace. If we could actually get ourselves to thinking that God is not cruel, man. I mean, God is just not cruel. We imagine him to be cruel because he's not giving us what we want. But if we really look at it and we have the patience to sit back and watch it, is to see that each time he sends us a blow, whether it's in the form of financials or people or illness or what, all of those. If we can actually see that, if we're not getting something immediately, there's something good in it for us. We just want it when we want it on our time. So I think even things like that are, we need to just look at it as grace, which we never look at. Then we start cussing people, we start cussing God, we start saying like, he's not listening, he's deaf, there's no God. We go into that whole drama in our heads, which is actually, again, not the correct way to look at it, because God's grace is ever flowing. The Guru's grace is ever flowing. We just need to be able to look at it and say, yes, this is also his grace. Why do only the good things have to be His grace? I think it's just like you said, you know, the mind starts transforming when you start reading and you start contemplating it.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, one thing, what you shared, I feel also that when I am not able to take my learning from a particular blow or a difficulty, then this cursing may happen, you know, this complaining may happen. But if I'm able to take something beautiful out from that challenge, then it is not possible that I think that, oh my God, you know, God is cruel, why this to me. It's mostly that we are so hard shelled as adults, especially
That's
that,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, the whole story. It's like, you know, and most of us are cussing, but I see Ranvi is, you know, people always blaming, the fingers always pointed outside now, whether it's towards the other person, a situation, or God, or whatever it is. It's that exactly what you were saying. It's that getting to that point of what you just said, you know, of looking at it and being able to see this, because then there is no question of cussing. But as an ego, that's, you know, your prompt response. But it's through, again, all the processes that you come to that refinement of not being, not cussing, of saying, yeah, there's something to it. Can I just sit back and not want it at my time? That's really it. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And the other thing is that also this idea of looking at God as something like as if this is God and this is all of us here on earth. It appears that we mostly look it at as like that, and that's why we can say, oh, you are cruel, because but if we look at this analogy that we use mostly, I'm not saying that people here use it, but in our minds, you know, we do that. And I think that even conceptually, logically, rationally, this does not make sense. Why? Because if we say that the God or the divine is infinite, now the moment I say God is here and I am here, I'm making him into a finite being. So even rationally, this does not make sense. And if God is all there is, if God is infinite, then it is not possible that all of it is not God. You know, so I'm never actually away from God, because the moment I say I am away from God, I'm making him into a separate limited being. And by very analogy, by very, if we talk about what, you know, the divine, the sangyas that we give to the divine, we say that he is the one who is unlimited. Now if he is the one who is unlimited, how can it be like this? Because that makes him limited. And if he is limited, then he is here also, you know, he's like gelled up everywhere. And that is why it makes sense when we say that the divine is here, there, and everywhere. There is not even a single spot. What we learn through this mystic tradition, you know, iti iti, it is this, it is this, it is this, or neti neti. So when we reconcile both, we see that both are one. Neti neti is also, we are saying that it's not this limited thing, it's much beyond. And when we say iti iti, we are saying this is also it, this is also it, this is also it. So it's the beyond, you know, but it encompasses all. So yeah, we were just reflecting upon this neti neti and iti iti yesterday also in one of the sessions, that how they appear to be different, but they are ultimately one, since there is nothing but the divine. So how can God be limited? How can the divine be limited? And that brings an actually sense of relief, because if even if we contemplate on this idea that God is unlimited, it is not possible that I would feel a separation from him, even if we contemplate on this idea. And this is really beautiful what you were sharing, that how it appears that if I'm getting support, that is only grace, and if there are blows, that is not grace. And it's only when we are not able to see how it molds us or shapes us beautifully. Yeah, so anything else, anyone, any reflections, maybe last few minutes?
So I enjoyed listening to all of y'all. Thank you so much. It's really nice.
Would you like to share anything, Shweta, or listening today?
Yeah, listening to him because actually work happens till 3:45, so I feel very tired at this time.
I know, I know.
But yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
I'm so tempted to know, like I have to log in because at least I can listen. So yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you for joining. Yeah, anyone else? Anything more? Okay, so I think I'm assuming that there is no further comments. So I really appreciate you all joining and sharing and mutually reflecting upon all these words. And may we find Guru everywhere, all of us. May we find this light hidden in this darkness everywhere. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye bye.